I know what you're thinking about the pattern. So here I have some clothes that are either mine or I just bought secondhand that I'm going to make into something cool and that I can wear in fall. I am going to split this video in two, maybe three parts, and today I'm going to start with this. And the original idea was to make like a midi dress, but this is just an M, and even though I'm very tiny, I'm just 5 feet tall, this is not gonna be enough to make a midi dress, but then I can always wear it with leggings and be decent at work. Let's do it then. I start by pinning where I want the gathering to be. In my case, just below the breast, but this is completely up to you. With a washable pencil, I mark where to cut, approximately ½ inch below the pin. And to make sure that the line is straight, I measure the distance of the line from the armpit and I use that distance as a reference for the other side. Then I cut and I remove the sleeves, cutting close to the seam. Now, since I'm refashioning a men's shirt, the shoulder is very large. So now I'm improvising a method to reduce the shoulders and to make the sleeves smaller. So here I'm taking this blue shirt of mine because I like the fit. So I place both shirts face up, aligning them very well, with the shoulders matching and centered. And I use my shirt as a model, running my finger along the front seam and marking that on the bottom shirt. And I also mark the side of the shirt, but be careful here, not to make it too tight, because we're going to sew these bodies to the gathered part, and you cannot unbutton past that seam, because there will not be any buttons anymore. So make sure you use a shirt you can easily slip into without opening the buttons. Once I'm done with the front, I do the same for the back, because in case you didn't know, front and back of the sleeves are very different. And here you can see better how I do it in case it wasn't clear before. So this is how I cut the back side. So far I cut the back and the front of the same side. Now to copy that on the other side, I grab the shirt by the placket, that's where the buttons are, and lay it flat. This way I can trace and cut just following the other side. For the collar, I trace the front in a boat neck shape because I'm really into it. I actually trace and cut only half. Then I lay it again one side up and I use the side I just cut as a reference for the other side. The back side of the neck, I pretty much left it the same way as it was. And now I start cutting the sleeve. Now, typically sleeves are a very difficult subject. You will notice from now on that 99% of the men's shirt refashioning don't involve resizing the sleeves. Only Evelyn Wood attempted it and she succeeded, but she is Evelyn Wood. Because I did not have a pattern of a sleeve, I simply decided to play it super simple and just matched the shape that I cut on the bodies on the sleeve. Just as simple as that. And I knew it was gonna not come out very well fitting, but I was gonna have sleeves. Everything is cut, so I can put things together, and I start from the easiest part in my opinion, that's the collar. Since the collar is curved, you can't just roll it and sew it because it will come out messy, trust me. So I use bias tape to do a French binding. So this is how you do it. You open the bias tape and align the edges of the shirt right side up and the external part of the bias tape, like I'm showing. Then you sew along in between the edge and the fold line. Then fold the bias tape on itself, fold one more time inside the collar, and now you sew to enclose. You see, using this method, the bias completely disappears, which is also why I decided to use this color of bias tape. It was the only one I had, but I was planning not to show it. So I stayed by the sewing machine and I attached the sleeves. However, while doing it, I don't know what happened. I realized that one of the sleeves was a lot smaller than the other. So here I begin to worry. So before continuing to sew the rest, I decided to stop and try it on. First though, I pinned the sleeves closed and I also pinned the sides. So to have a realistic view of how this dress is gonna look like. Okay, I lost a pin. I pinned everything and honestly, this is not how sleeves should come down. They are good only if I stand like this because when I am standing in a normal position, I have this weird thing here that shouldn't be there. But yeah, so now the next step, I'm going to serge what I just sewn, and then I'm going to basically close all this. And then once I'm done with this, I can go on and gather the bottom part and then attach everything. For this project, I used every room of my house except the bathroom. So for convenience, I didn't include any sewing moments, but do you think I should? Will that be useful for you? So let me know in the comments and I'll make sure in future videos I will include it. Now I hem the sleeves. I make sure that the sleeves have the same length and then I simply roll the edge twice. I iron it so that it stays in place and I don't need the pins. Then I go on the sewing machine and I simply sew on it. So the top part is all serged and sewn, so I can gather the part that is going to be attached to the top, and to do that I need to sew along that line. To sew, make sure to set your machine to long stitch, somewhere around 3 to 4, and this way the tension will be low enough to be able to pull the thread and bundle up the fabric without the thread breaking. Here we want to make sure that the length of the gather part is the same as the top. So we gather, we let the bottom and the top meet again, and we fine-tune the length of the gathering by overlapping them. When we are more or less okay with the length, note that it doesn't have to be precise. We sew along the part where the buttons were. If you have not removed the buttons on the bottom part, make sure to remove them now, like I'm doing. When the bottom is closed, it meets the top again, and we start pinning it to the top. We start pinning on the sides, making sure that the seams overlap. So the side seam of the bottom needs to match the side seam of the top, and this for both the sides. When these two pins are there, I make sure that the gathering is as uniform as possible, and then I go ahead with pinning the rest, putting something like 5 pins in the front and 5 in the back. So now I can sew the two parts together. And I finally removed the front pocket. Now I'm not done yet. I want to add one button in between each couple of buttons, if that makes sense, because the original distance in between two buttons was too big in my opinion. So I made the buttonholes with my sewing machine, and here you can see the result. Here I also opened the buttonholes, and then I proceeded with putting the buttons. For that one, me and my sewing machine are not there yet in our relationship, so I decided to do it by hand somewhere nice. And guys, unbelievable, it fits! I really doubt it because the weird way I cut the sleeves made me take a lot of the sleeves away, and I thought it was not gonna fit, but it does. The only thing, it has this weird this thing in here. It's very weird, but it's all good if I stand like this in this like so powerful position. So now you know why all the pictures of this dress are like this. Um, okay, so I gave all my recommendations throughout the video. Now I only have to say goodbye, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!